This is Chapter 10 of the Biology 1 course, and it's titled Our Balanced World. Today we want to talk about the idea of ecosystems, exactly what is an ecosystem. We want to look at several cycles, including the food cycle, the air cycle, and the water cycle, and then we're going to look at why this is all important. When we look at our Earth is special. It's the only planet in our solar system that contains life. Other planets are either too hot or too cold or have really bad atmospheres. Mercury is way too hot. Venus is too hot. Jupiter, for example, has gases that would kill us instantly. Pluto's not a planet anymore. Pluto and others are too far away from the sun or too cold. We're the only planet in the solar system that contains life. And so far, nobody has discovered life anywhere else in the universe. So our planet is very delicately balanced to provide the needs for life, to provide the situation where we can survive. The anthropic principle is a principle that says the universe appears to be fine-tuned for our existence, that the conditions that we find here on Earth are fine-tuned so that we can live, so that we can survive. The freezing of water, when it freezes, it floats on top of the water. The mixture of gases in the atmosphere. There is enough oxygen for us to survive. There is not too little, and there's not too much. If we had more oxygen, everything would set on fire. The properties of atoms. Atoms are designed to carry out certain functions and to behave certain ways. There are a lot of other examples that suggest that the universe is fine-tuned for our existence. Now, Earth as an ecosystem, ecos is a Greek word, O-I-K-O-S, which means house. So we're talking about our home in essence. Earth is a community of living systems. And this we have to keep in mind. We're talking about how living systems interact. Everything that we need, except sunlight, is found on Earth. All of our food, all of our materials for building, for making clothes, everything we need is found on Earth. The sun provides the energy to make things happen. Ecology is a science. It's the study of living organisms and how they interact with each other. So you can see ecology is going to be kind of complex. It's one thing to study a euglena or a frog or a butterfly in isolation by themselves. But it's a whole other thing to study how the euglena, the frog, the butterfly, birds, animals, people, how they all interact and how they all fit into the same space and how they get along or don't get along. Ecosystem is a term that we use to describe a balanced environment. Water, food, air are all cycled. They all are reused. Cycling is a series of events that repeats itself. So when we go through a cycle, we go through for example, the cycle of a frog. A frog lays eggs. The eggs become a tadpole. The tadpole becomes an adult frog. The frog lays eggs, and so forth. So we have something that repeats itself. Matter is pretty important in all of this. The balance of nature is very important, and we can do a lot of things to help that, and we can do a lot of things to create problems there. All materials are recycled in natural processes, and we're going to see some examples of this as we go along. But materials are reused. And then there's the important chemistry law. First, the law of conservation. Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. We can't make any new matter, but we can't destroy the matter we have. We can change it. We can change it from one thing to another, but we can't destroy it. But equally important is this is all there is. There are no more new matter coming down the road for us to use. So the point is that we have to reuse what is there, and this is why ecology is such an important subject. Now here's a typical cycle, the food cycle. We see we can start down with the bacteria providing nitrogen for plants, and that allows the plants to grow. The plants can provide food for animals. Some animals provide food for other animals. We eat fish, we eat beef, we eat lots of things, chickens. And then when animals die, they decay and they provide food for the small organisms like the bacteria and the fungi. So we have a cycle that repeats itself. Here's an example of a food chain. We have trees and shrubs and grass growing, and they provide food for example, deer or rabbits or mice, and so on up the food chain. And as we see, some things provide food for other things. And then when these animals die, their remains go into the ground, provide materials for the bacteria, which provides materials for the trees, and so forth. So this is a little more complicated food chain, but it makes the point. Now, here's an ocean food chain where we have phytoplankton, which are the little unicellular kinds of materials that provide food for the zooplankton, which are larger little creatures, and then they provide food for the fish, and the fish provide food for other fish, and so forth. So it's another example of a food chain. The air cycle is pretty straightforward, and we've talked about this when we talked about plants. Plants give off oxygen, and then we breathe that oxygen with our lungs, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. So we breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide goes out into the air, and the plants use the carbon dioxide to make food, and they give off oxygen. We breathe it, we give off carbon dioxide, plants use that, so that's an air cycle. That's pretty straightforward. Water cycle is a little more complex. I didn't have an image of that available, but it's in your textbook on page 66. And basically, water evaporates from the ocean into clouds in the sky. And the clouds are carried over the ocean and they move into the land. The wind blows them. And then over the land, the clouds release the water as rain. And then the streams and rivers carry water back to the ocean, and we start all over again. Here's a more detailed picture of it. It shows the clouds, the condensation, rain comes down, we get precipitation, and then we put water in the streams. Water goes into the ground and run off back into the lakes and rivers and ocean, and then the water evaporates and we start that process all over again. So this is a pretty complex cycle. It's affected by a lot of things, but it certainly affects how we survive. Now, a lot of different ideas about nature that have been around since the beginning of time. Some people see our world as a creation by God. Some of the major religions teach this. The Greeks and others, the ancient Greek philosophers that we've talked about from time to time, saw the world as run by several gods. And some of these gods and goddesses weren't really very nice. So the Greeks came to wonder, why do they get to run the world if they're so messed up themselves? Other groups see nature, capital N, as some sort of spirit. There's some sort of, you talk about Mother Nature, it's in our language, and we talk about Mother Nature doing this and that, and we don't want to make Mother Nature mad, as if Mother Nature was some kind of entity. And today, some people are pushing the idea that the Earth itself is a living entity called Gaia, and that the Earth exists as an organism, so just as we do. This is not a new idea. It's come up from time to time in the past, but this is the idea that is being put forth nowadays to explain some things about the Earth. So we look at concerns about changes in the cycle. There are a lot of concerns about changes in environment. People talk about global warming. People talk about water shortages. People talk about how we're cutting down all the trees and we're killing off fish and things. A lot of worries about changes in the environment, and efforts are being made to maintain that balance. Trees get cut down, new trees are planted. Some lumber companies are being very good about replanting trees when they cut down trees. Cleaning water is a big issue in a lot of places, and a lot of money and time and energy is being spent in developing clean water supplies so people can have healthy water to drink. Relocating animals, a little more controversial when people think, well, the gray wolf is becoming extinct, they might want to relocate it. The cattle farmers that watch the gray wolves eat their cows aren't too happy about that, but this is one of the things that's done to try to help maintain that balance in nature. Now, the key point is that we are stewards of creation. We've been given something, we've been given a gift of the earth, and we need to care for what we've been given. We need to be responsible. We need to know how things work. This is one of the reasons that many scientists study ecology and study animals and plants and water supplies and things, so we'll understand the world around us better, and we'll better be able to take care of it. But we all have a responsibility to take care of what we've been given. So, summarize, we've talked about the idea of an ecosystem, we've talked about the food cycle, the air cycle, the water cycle, and the importance of caring for the environment. So, thank you for showing up, and we'll be talking to you later. Bye-bye.